This is where we hold them! This is where we fight!
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Yo, what's going on, man? We got a little bit of a late start today, but hey, the show goes on. We got a lot of personal business going on right now, so we apologize to the people, but we're here.
Listen. This is an amateur operation around here, folks, okay? Let's be clear. This is an amateur operation around here, all right? We're professionals. We're both professionals at different things. But this right here, this is an amateur operation. So, you just have to bear with us and give us patience in terms of when we start and what we got going on. Rob, I also want to let the people know. See, this is why you and I created the policy of not announcing guests, right? And I didn't announce a guest, but I hinted at a guest, and it was set up, but things change, things happen, right? And the GOAT that I referred to is not going to be in the building tonight. We're looking at next Thursday, okay? We're looking at next Thursday. But when the GOATs want a definition of what a patch pirate is, the GOATs are going to get their definition, and so are the people, Rob. So next Thursday, start hyping it up now, because I think I don't want to say it's set in stone, because nothing's ever set in stone, but things are in motion. I'll say that.
Yo, I noticed that patch pirate phrase is catching on across the bowling world. I noticed there's some ads going on now. Bowlers Mart even picked it up, and I think I think we need to license the term. I think Sweep the Rack. We need to. Is there a way? Can we copyright it so we could sell shirts and stuff? I mean, who out there would buy a patch pirate shirt? I think that would be great.
Luke Rossdale today tweeted out a bowling shirt he had made, which is an actual pirate shirt, a patch pirate shirt. I retweeted it and said, looks about right. Looks about right.
I saw a social media from Bowls Mart where they put actually when we were kids and they were giving patches away. And they were like, yeah, when we were kids, it was the original patch pirates. But, man, we earned those patches.
Rob, I have said numerous times on this podcast, I'm amazed that anyone listens to our nonsense. So the fact that a term that we brought to the bowling world is spreading around the bowling world like fire. Like, I go to tournaments and people see me that I don't even know, and they're like, "Arr!" And I'm just like, this is crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but it's awesome. But you know why? Because it's true. There's truth in it. There's 100%. Truth in it. So people know there's truth in it. Yep. You and I, the same conversations that you and I and our circle of bowling friends have, there's numerous circles of bowling friends out there having the same conversations. And that's why some of this stuff catches on. So, we're here for our regular Thursday show. We're going to be back on Sunday, right? They're going to award a PBA title tomorrow night, but we'll be back on Sunday to wrap up the Wichita Open. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But we're here for our regular Thursday show. We got worst of the week for you. We got our league rundown. We got some topical discussion on things going on in the bowling community tonight. But Rob, we'll start with the reason people come here, and that's the league review, our league review. So I'll do my league review quickly because I know that people are post bowling in your league, What kind of nonsense is this, son?
I'm going to tell the facts of the
There's
story.
money awards in this league. All right, hold your thoughts for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm such a hack. I'm terrible. I'm going to practice Saturday. I'm going to the training center. I'm actually going with Greg Tack and a couple other people. I mean, I shot. So first game, I come out of the gate, practice. I got a real good look. Medium pattern Autobahn. I'm using a pin up reality, playing probably 13 to 6, 7, 13 to 7. Looks real good. Come out of the gate 2-8-10. Then I throw a bunch of good ones in a row with a stone 9 in the middle, and I take it all the way to the 9th frame. 10th frame, I throw my worst shot of the game, and I miss the head pin, make the spare. 237. Could have been 279 with a break and a better shot in the 10th. Second game, probably the best bowler in our little pot bowling thing that we have going on is recently anyway has been Lou Gaudio, and he drew the Joker because we had an uneven amount of people, and the person who draws the Joker gets to pick their partner, and who does he pick? He picks me, and I mean, what a confidence boost that was for me to know that the best bowler here is picking me as his doubles partner. He probably just saw me shoot 240 the first game. I get off to a rough start. Couldn't really find it. Missed a spare early. Then I found it through a string. Had 3 or 4 in a row going into the 10th, and out of nowhere I dump it in the gutter like a doofus, like an absolute doofus. I just miss right, and it just got way right, and it just boom fell in the gutter. Then I don't spare, so I shoot 178. Okay, if I would have doubled there, it's 220. And we probably win the doubles game.
I'm hearing a lot of couldas, shouldas, and wouldas, Mike.
I know. But see, the positive of that is that I'm in a position to bowl a good game, right? That's the positive of that.
You just can't seal the deal. You can't close the show.
Yeah, last game I switched to a Zen, moved about 20 left, and had the absolute best look I had all night. Just threw 2 shots out the window. Went like front 4, threw it out the window, open. Then I threw like another 4 in a row, threw it out the window, open. And I think I shot like 201. So we bowled a little action match after. And it was me and Greg Tack against one of my young guys, Matt Gibney, and a local guy, house bowler, I would say, who has recently been coming to our sport, pot bowling, and he seems to have gotten bit by the sport bug a little bit. And it's actually one of the people, Rob, that I had hit up when I was trying to put together the series of videos where I was going to invite, 230 average house bowlers to bowl on something sport in some kind of match. This is one of the guys who didn't want to do it. So now he's coming out to the sport thing. We bowled against those two. I just bowled horribly. Absolutely horribly. Missed a spare. I think 150 I shot. Greg Tack almost beat me by 100. If he beat me by 100, I was going to pay his debt. I was going to pay both of our debts because that's just not right. But you got to beat me by 100. So yeah, and towards the end of the game, Greg Tack is trying to tell me, no, you need to throw the ball out on the lane. And I'm like, he's like, hold on to it as long as you possibly can for me, and throw the ball out on the lane. He's like, try and loft it past the dots. And I'm like, I mean, this is just not the way I was taught to bowl. It's not the way I see the game. I like smooth ball down on the lane early is more the style that I always tried to have. Rob, I shot putted my last shot or two out onto the lane, and it looked like EJ Tackett threw the ball. I mean, deep down the lane, I'm like, oh, that's going to be 6. Bang. Snap. Ball rolls up. Crushes them. Messengers going everywhere. And I'm just like, and here's the crazy thing. On those couple shots, my rev rate seemed even lower than it is when I try and throw it the way I'm throwing it.
Big Mika. That's what someone just called you.
Yeah, I mean, It's like it's wild. So yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. But listen, I'm bowling okay. I'm averaging higher than I've ever averaged in a sport league. I'm 197, so I'm
And so
right there. After this week, I'm probably going to be close to 200. Which to me is great. I mean, I feel really good, especially since my spare shooting has been horrendous. Greg Tack was also talking to me about bowling balls and bowling ball selection, and I probably do a terrible job of even bringing balls in that match up to what I'm bowling on. So yeah, I'm going to have a further conversation with him, and we're going to practice a little bit on Saturday at the training center, and see where that takes me. But yeah, that's about it. We had 21 guys. No, 19 guys on Tuesday. So not bad. I mean, we're consistently getting 19, 20, 21, 22 people every week. So it's good. We got a nice little group going. If you're local and you want to come out, next week is week 3 of a 9-week session. If you bowl 6 of the 9 weeks, I'm raffling off an Ocean Vibe. So if you come out, you can definitely check that out.
I have a few observations about your bowling league night, and then we can get into my shit show of a league. It still, to me, doesn't sound like a physical thing, because you're throwing 4 strikes and then you're throwing one out the window. You're throwing 3 strikes and then you're throwing it out the window. You're throwing it in the gutter, but you're bowling 230 one game and then you're bowling 180 one game and you're missing spares. I still really wholeheartedly believe it is more of a mental thing for you than a physical thing, because you don't throw 4 really good shots and then one really, really bad one, and it's a physical thing. You were physically able to throw 4 really good shots. So your physical game isn't, if you were throwing one out the window, grabbing one, another one out the window, grabbing 2, to me, that's a timing issue that you got to get on. But if you're throwing it really good for 4 or 5 shots, all of a sudden, you're probably overthinking. You're probably, putting a little bit more pressure on yourself, your score, whatever it is. You have to figure out a way to mentally
lock down. Yeah, and just throw better shots. I agree with you to a large degree. For sure.
Physically, you have a great game. You're going to have your times when your timing is off if you're not bowling a lot. But if you're missing single pin spares, or you're chopping spares, or you're doing a lot of that, to me, either you lined up wrong shooting your spares, or you're just mentally, and you've said it, talking yourself out of the shot, and then you're mid-shot, you're having a mental breakdown from your first step to your 5th step.
Yeah, I'm definitely not 100% committed to what's going on. That's for sure.
Yeah, so
I can give numerous examples of how that's the case. I'm not going to get into them, though.
Yeah, no. I mean, really, what you should really do is, pick up some books, man. And start reading some books on sports psychology, golf. There's a lot of good mental game books on sports, on golf. There's a lot of tricks you can use while you're bowling to kind of shut your brain off. And I know Nicholas Wilson said it in the chat, you got to turn the brain off. It's hard, easier said than done, especially when you want to really bowl good and there's money on the line and there's a lot of other things going on. But
I don't know if books can help me at this point. I'll be honest.
Dude, what do you mean? Dude, books will help everybody. You just got to commit to it. And you got to just try to find something that works for you. Honestly, dude, I'm telling you, I saw a sports psychologist years ago, and some of the tricks that he taught me, I still use to this day. I mean, obviously I'm not bowling as much as I used to, but I mean, yeah, there were some really pressure situations that really got a lot of that got me through. So that would be my suggestion for you, man. That's what it sounds like to me. But if you don't really focus on the mental game and you don't really, figure that out, you're just going to continue to struggle regardless of how much you practice physically, honestly.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, I'm doing it for fun. So, and for me, there's fun in the struggle to a degree. So
there is, but there's also fun in winning and making money too. So,
Yeah, Robert Hamilton saying if you overthink the shot, I think my problem is I don't think about it enough. I just, oh yeah, I'm talking to somebody. I run up there, grab my ball.
That's a lack of focus.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's that's part of it. Is definitely a lack of focus. Hey, but listen, I'm there to have fun too. I'm there to enjoy myself. I'm not there to rack my brain.
No, you're not fooling anybody with I'm just here to have fun. Okay. You want to win. You want to bowl good.
I'm running it though too. I mean, I told you before, I'm busy. I'm collecting cards. I'm paying people pots, etc.
We should get a top 10 Big Mike excuse shirt, and I could wear it to my
listen.
league.
I'm bowling okay. If anybody wants action, Bolero has Tuesday nights.
All right.
That's it. All right. Let's talk pre-bowling and post-bowling in a money league. What is this nonsense?
I'm not going to talk about any of my opinions yet or what my feelings are. I'm going to give everybody straight facts, and I'm going to let you guys determine if I'm agitated about it. And agitated is the word, right? Angry about not getting a table? Yes. Agitated about post bowling? Yes. Okay. So obviously last week, the team didn't show up. So, and we had one guy on my team didn't show up. So we had 4 bowling, and we bowled on the corner pair. Okay. And there's a few details to this league night that will help influence your guys' decision on what you think, if it's right or not. My league is a match point league. So you bowl the person across from you. Okay. You bowl them and you get a point, I believe, for every game and 2 points for totals against the people you bowl against. Or it could be 1 point total. So 1 point game, 1 point total. So obviously your lineup matters on how you structure your lineup, who you bowl against, and what pair you bowl on. I bowled on 39 and 40, which is the end pair. It's the corner pair. Take it for what it's worth. Corner pairs are sometimes can be high scoring, most of the time are not, right? For this specific bowling center, I don't think 39-40 is too bad, but we did catch a lot of flat 10s on 40. All right, we whatever. We find out later that they're post bowling, which was news to me because I'm used to pre bowling growing up. We never had post bowling growing up where I grew up. It was always pre bowling. So if the team knew they were going to be out, obviously they bowl before the league. We never knew the scores of the team when we pre-bowled. We would find out after we bowled if we won or not, right? This league, post-bowling. So we find out they post-bowl. We find out they post-bowled the night before the next week. So we bowl Tuesday nights, they post-bowled Monday nights, okay? We also find out that now, I could be completely wrong here, and this is an assumption I'm making, but rumor got to me that they knew our scores prior to us bowling. So they knew our individual scores, okay? On top of that, they also brought in a sub to post bowl, okay? So not only did they know our scores, but they also brought in a sub who happened to be in PBA national champion, okay? Who they put in the 1 hole, not even up against me in the 5th hole, okay? So a PBA champion bowls as a sub and then goes into the 1 spot, and we get absolutely slaughtered. And they didn't bowl on the pair we bowled on. They didn't bowl on 39-40. From my assumption, they didn't. I'm wondering, those are the straight facts, okay? There's some assumptions there. There's some
rumor.
There's rumor that they knew our scores. There's rumor that they didn't bowl on our pair that we bowled on. Facts are they post bowled. Assumption is they knew our scores. Facts are they brought in a sub who's a PBA national champion. And the fact is, that was the most amount of points we lost since we started the league.
I think that pre-bowling and post-bowling, particularly in a adult, money league, should only be allowed if the pre-bowling or post-bowling team bowls on whatever conditions Bolero has out at the time they walk in to do the pre-bowl or post-bowl. That should be the universal rule. And you know what would happen? No one would pre-bowl or post-bowl anymore, because every time you'd walk in, you'd be bowling on leftovers, and it would be like impossible. And people would learn, oh no, you can't pre-bowl or post-bowl. But no, listen, in all seriousness, It really, I really don't see a place for it. Not in a money league. Not a money league. You know, I mean, what's a legal lineup? What's a legal lineup? You know, like if it's one person, if it's two people, then you just got to get the subs. You know, you got to get the subs.
Well, okay, so I'm going to go on the record here in case anybody who bowls my league is listening to this, because I know people pop in every once in a while. I have nothing against the other team and what they did, because there is nothing illegal that they did. They didn't do anything illegal, right? My issue is that this is a league rule issue. Okay, this isn't a other team issue. The other team played within the rules. They didn't do anything illegal. This is a league rule, right? And I'm under the impression too that my my captain of my team agreed for them to do post bowl, okay, which I didn't actually know about. I wouldn't even care, but maybe
well, what are you gonna say? You're gonna say no. I mean, it's in the league rules, and then you're gonna say no, sure. And like you're the jerk team that said no to the. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like so, if it's in the league rules, it puts the team that's being asked in an awkward position anyway.
Yeah,
and so I agree with you on the point of it being more of a league rules thing than a problem with any given team.
The rule in post bowling and pre bowling, in my opinion, there's two things here. One, it should never be allowed. I personally. You should never be allowed to pre-bowl, and you should never be allowed to post-bowl, because you are never bowling on the same playing field as the person bowling, the team bowling, that night against you. Okay. My other beef is that they should not be allowed to bring in a sub if they're going to post-bowl, right? Either you bowl with your starting 4 or your starting, 3, and you take the 2 blinds, or you don't bowl, or you forfeit. Okay, in a big money league where we're talking thousands of dollars a person for each person for first place and points, and 40 teams, 5-man league. The last 10 weeks of our league season, and you're going to post bowl and bring in a sub who is a pretty good bowler, and then move him into the one spot, which they knew the scores, so you could easily say, well, I want this. My lead bowler, my leadoff bowler, where he bowled, had a great series. And then, of course, they're going to put the best bowler, or you could do vice versa. You could put the best bowler against the person who had the lowest score, so you're guaranteed, 4 points. I mean, really, you could maneuver it however you want to. Now, I'm not saying they did that, because that's an assumption. I don't know. I don't really – my beef is with post and pre-bowling. I think post and pre-bowling is a rule that was back in, the freaking, back when leagues were in the 60s and 70s, and it just continued to just, be in the rules, and people agreed to it. And I'm going out and saying that it's a fucking stupid rule. Post bowling and pre-bowling should be banned. It should be illegal. And I'm standing by my opinion. I don't care what people say on a big money league. Fun leagues, Vegas leagues, whatever. Whatever. It doesn't.
Well, all leagues should be able to make up their own rules, right? That's the point. Depending on what level you're at, what the makeup of the league is, leagues should be able to make their own rules. And, I think that when you get to a certain level of competition, especially if it involves money, then, the rules have to be tighter.
They do.
The rules have to be tighter. I mean, listen.
Yes, it's a match point league deal.
Yeah, I understand that there's going to be instances where people can't make it. But, listen, that's why you have a blind rule. I mean, maybe tighten up the blind rule and make it more competitive if a team does have to take a blind, if you're going to eliminate the pre-bowl and the post-bowl. I mean, most leagues make you take some kind of 10% drop, right, or 20% drop. Right. From the average if you're taking a blind. Sure. So what if you change that, right. to a 0% drop? What if you get the person straight average and you plug it in, but there is no pre-bowling and post-bowling? So the person's not going to have a bad night, but they're certainly not going to have that great of a night. They're going to have an average night. And if the other team bowls their average, they're likely going to win, right? Yeah. So
if I was bowling, Mike, if I was bowling next year and I'm not, I'm on the record saying I'm not bowling another like house league. It'll be a sport league, or I won't bowl if it's a doubles or triples league. I would bring up in the league meeting, and this is, something that maybe people should start doing. I would bring up in the league meeting, and I would bring this up, and I would go about it so that I would be like, post bowling shouldn't be allowed unless the other team agrees to post bowl or pre bowl with you at the same time.
Yeah, but that's like impossible.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, if it's a 4 or 5 person league, trying to schedule that is just impossible.
I'm going to read some of the comments because I haven't really came across anybody on Twitter or tonight that disagrees with my point of view, which is really weird or random because I'm usually opinionated and I usually get people against me. And
but can I counter? Can I counter that?
Yeah,
and I'll present an argument. I think that we're in a time, society wise, where people are busier than ever. People have more things to attend to than ever, and people also expect to be accommodated for those things. So while we're sitting here saying that it shouldn't be a part of a certain level of league, I think that you're going to run into those situations kind of often because people are busy and people do have a lot of things going on, and bowling is not a super top priority to most people. League bowling, it's kind of like if something comes up, they're going to go to that thing rather than their league, and that's where a lot of these issues come up. But
here's my point of view to that.
Somebody, go ahead.
My point of view back to you is, if you're a good, solid team and you are competitive and you want to win, you will have a 6th and 7th man on your roster that is ready and willing to sub when you need it. And my team, my group message for my league is 7 people. Okay, so if I can't make it, I send the group text and I'm like, yo, Kyle, Stu, can any of you sub? And they're solid. They're like, yo, we're there. Like, me personally, I don't like subbing, so I won't.
Right.
Like, to me, like, if I have a solid 7 people that'll sub at the drop of a hat if we need to. And that's why I guess some teams, maybe they don't have that, right? And that's hard to come up with. All
right, but say an entire team has to miss.
Yeah.
Right? Then it really becomes an issue. And that's really where I see the pre and post bowl thing coming into play, is where you have a team that's all friends and there's some sort of event going on or something and they have to go. But see, now in the chat, Todd Squire is saying, his league kills the teams with a 50-pin drop for a blind being absent, right?
I love it.
See, you love that. I hate that. I think I don't understand the point of that. Like, if a team doesn't want to show up and, take 10 pins. Take 10 pins off of each of their averages. They're going to have a below average night. If the team that they're bowling can't have an average night across the board, then they don't deserve to win anyway.
No, 10 pins isn't enough. I think that's not enough penalty for missing. I think it's got to be to me, it's got to favor the team that's there bowling. 10 pins isn't enough, especially in a sport league. Especially in a sport league, 10 pins isn't enough on an average. To me, it's got to be
sport league. You're right. Sport league, you're right. House league, I don't know about that.
Even a house league, it's got to be 25 pins.
Oh, that's way too much.
No.
For a 5-man league, it's 125 pins a game.
So show up or find a sub.
No, I disagree.
There's got to be an advantage to the team that shows up.
Well, if you're getting rid of the pre-bowl, post-bowl, I disagree. I think if you get rid of the pre-bowl, post-bowl, it's got to be less.
Well, if you get rid of the pre-bowl and post-bowl, I'm talking in the day and age now with the post-bowl.
Okay. Then I would agree with you. I'm talking no pre-bowl, no post-bowl. You can't have a drop that's that.
I'll agree with you there. But I'm thinking about it in a world with pre and post bowling. There's got to be a big penalty for missing.
Does the position that a team's in, should a position that a team's in have anything to do with a pre or a post bowl? Even for these competitive leagues, if you have 2 teams that are in 27th and 28th place out of 35 teams, let's say, and they want a pre or post bowl, is anyone going to care? But then if you have 2 teams that are up top and one of them wants to pre bowl or post bowl, to me, that's a bigger issue. So I don't know. You could even probably set it up in the league rules where, there's no pre or post bowling for the top quarter of the teams in the league.
But what if the 30th team is facing the first place team?
Well, then no, that's what I'm saying. Like, you'd have to write it in the rules where there's no pre or post bowling involved if any of the top X amount of teams are involved in that particular match, and that's
maybe.
it.
I mean, there could be so many different like solutions to this.
Yeah,
but
again, I do agree that it's sort of another example of like bowling and bowling leagues being stuck in the same mindset of doing things the same way. Like we're very stubborn to change things in that manner, and I think there should be more discussion in leagues about these rules and what works and what doesn't.
What do you think would happen if I actually stayed in the league and I brought this up? I probably would be laughed out of the building.
Yeah. Oh, you'd definitely be voted down because, again, like, people are going to look at you like you're crazy because they're going to immediately think of like, well, there's going to be times throughout the year where something's going to come up and a lot of us can't make it, and they want that opportunity.
Should a sub be able to be brought in on a post bowl? That's a whole.
I don't know. I mean, that's a tougher question to me because, like, how long's the sub been bowling for? Has the sub been bowling with them for the last 3-4 weeks, and now it just so happens that they have to post bowl, and he's still like, there's semantics there that matter to me. So generally, I would have to say yes, you got to allow it. But does it leave a good taste in my mouth? No, not at all. It does not.
It doesn't. Anyway, so that was my story.
Jim Ward in the chat asking, what is the green ball behind me? It's an Omega Lion. That so that ball cost me 10 grand. I had a chance in a strike pot for 10 grand, got down to the last shot, left a solid 10 with the Omega Lion, Baker Lane, summer of like 2000, 2001 maybe. And I threw the ball off a bridge, Jim, on the way home out of frustration. And then Joe Paluzik, a.k.a. Joey Pants, who thinks he's funny, but he's actually a jerk. He got me another ball. He got me an Omega Lion, and he drilled it for me and gave it to me as a present. So I kept that one. I haven't thrown it off a bridge yet. I probably won't. But that's the story behind the Omega Lion. But, Jim, don't feel bad for me. It's probably better that I didn't win the 10 grand. My life probably would have went off the rails if I won that 10 grand. It's probably better that I didn't. And 10 grand today, somebody remind me what 10 grand is. You know what I'm saying, Jim? Jay-Z, quote Jay-Z there. Okay. So
anyway, real quick, last 2 weeks, I kind of found a decent look in the league, like 705 last week, and then like 660 something this week. Okay. I'm just cruising right now, but we're trying. We're in the mix right now for like total points for the whole, like, all 3 quarters. I think there's like a roll off at the end of the year, and that's the reason why, like, every week right now is really important for us because I'm trying to leave there with two grand 2,500 in my pocket. You know what I mean? A
lot of Mushtari jokes in the chat, Rob. In our discussion here.
Oh, so funny thing about Mushtari. A lot of
Mushtari. And you know what? Pre and post bowling should have been outlawed when that clown did what he did. The USBC just should have said, no, you know what? Mushtari rule. No more pre and post bowling. It's done.
Actually, I was in communication with him. I was trying to get him on the show, and then he kind of started ghosting me. I think he actually started listening to our show and then realized that he probably didn't want to get front row and center for the firing squad that we would have probably brought to him. But I thought he'd be an interesting guest because I wouldn't have came at him. I would have got his side of the story first before.
I would have came at him.
Well, I know, but you would have heard the side of the story first from him, and then you would have probably picked him apart. But
I want to hear his BS.
Crazy. You remember? It's so funny. Do you remember what ball he did it with? I remember the ball he did it with, which is crazy. I think it was a Storm Paradigm. That's my first gut instinct is the ball he was using for that. So anyway, all right, let's talk PBA, Mike. Wichita. and happens to be where our boy is actually making a run this week. I have to get the scores up here. The last time I checked,
I don't even want to say nothing.
you don't want to cloud him?
Nah, it's all good.
Oh no, he just bowled 180 in the fourth game. That's not good.
See, all you got to do is mention the name.
So, okay, right now we're in the final 22 games, we're 22 games in for the final 12. The final 12 right now, Matt Ogle, Tommy Jones, Chris Prather, Anthony Lavery-Spar, Simonson, Belmonte, Doherty, Santu, Chris Barnes, O'Neill, Butcher, Dom Barrett. You want to talk about Murderers Row, top 12?
Can I make an observation? There's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot to talk about here to me. It's so funny that you read off, because me and you talk sometimes about what we're going to discuss on the show, but we did not discuss this. And it's funny to me that you read off those names and you're like, oh, Murderers Row. Here's my observation, and I want to dig a little deep into this a bit. The young generation of bowlers on tour today, the younger guys on tour, maybe not. I won't even use the word younger. I'll say like less experienced, less accomplished, if you want. Okay, less accomplished, less experienced, younger. I'll group all of those people in together. Okay, I think that they are having a harder time establishing themselves amongst the established guard of great bowlers than perhaps any time that we've seen in the history of professional bowling. Okay, and I want to tell everyone, I went back and I actually did some statistical analysis on this. Okay, and I went to Jeff Rickles' article about the PBA, the record of PBA titles in history. Okay, and don't quote me here. I have so much in my mind right now, so please don't quote me on this. I didn't write it down. I was just kind of looking it over, and I made a mental note. But I believe since 2020, okay, in the last 3 years, there's only like 4 players that have won their first title in the last 4 years, right? And those people were Matt Russo, Kyle Sherman, Kevin Williams, and I forget who the fourth one was. There's a couple other. There's 1 or 2 other guys who have won 2 titles, right? And their titles fall. Darren Tang, and their titles fall within those couple of years. Okay, but some of those guys that I just mentioned, Matt Russo, Kevin Williams. Now Kevin Williams just finished second a couple weeks ago. Okay, but short of those 2 events, where is he on the regular? Right? Would you consider any of those guys I just mentioned regular threats to win out here, or even every week threats to, every week locks to make the cut, make match play, make a deep run in the tournament, but who do you see? Who do you see week after week, right? Week after week, the Bill O'Neills, the Belmos, the Doms, the EJs, the Simos, the Tommies, the Dartys, the Barneses. These guys have been doing it for. Bill's been doing it for probably 18 of his 20 years. He's been in that category, right? So you look at other guys like Barnes. When Barnes came on the scene, it was immediate. It was immediate that he was somebody who was like an every week threat to make the cut, to make a run, to make a show. He was regularly making shows. He was regularly threatening to win, right? Tommy Jones, same thing. He wasn't out there long before he was on TV and was almost unbeatable. Oh, Maldonado was the other one. But Maldonado, I believe, has 2, Nico. And there was one person who had 2. And it might have been Maldonado. It might have been Thomas Larson. Again, I should have wrote this down. I didn't write any of it down. Maldonado was the other one, though. And he's the only guy. Maldonado's the only guy who has won a title over the last 3 years as his first title. that I would say has become a somewhat of a regular in the cuts, in the match play, in the deeper sections of the tournament. I wouldn't even call him an every week threat to win, right? So
No.
like, I don't know. Am I right about this? Am I wrong about this? Why
No,
is
you're right.
this? But go
No,
ahead,
you're right.
take it wherever you want.
No, you're right, but I want to correct myself here because there's 22 people bowling right now. And before I make an observation or respond to you, I want
Hold
to
on
read.
1 second, because people were telling me Larson was pre-2020 as well. Some of you guys are right. I might have even gone back to 2019, and then it's like Cooley. Cooley has 2, right? He was the guy who had 2, right? So again, is he somebody that you consider an every week threat or a regular? I mean, yeah, he's maybe borderline, but I don't think he's quite there yet. But again, I did go back at some point and say, all right, well, 2020 is not even enough. Let me look to 2019 and see how many it is. Because 2020, again, was only like a small handful of guys, right? So go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Yeah, so I want to read off the next, 10 bowlers, because there's some interesting names in the next 10, right? After who's in the top 12 right now, currently, after 4 games. David Kroll, who I've seen the name. I don't know who that is.
Two-hander.
What's that? Two-hander.
Two-hander.
Nathan Bohr, which has been on tour forever, who's still trying to make a name for himself.
He's our age. We bowled against him in college.
Bowled against him in college. Good kid. Nicest kid you'll meet.
Threw a gutter against Penn State to lose a best of 7 while Sean Ratch was on his team and he was anchoring.
Yeah, great bowler, though. Christian Ascona gets out of the dumpster diving this week. He's finally out. Darren Tang, Zach Wilson, AJ Chapman, Maldonado, Sean Lavery Spar, Stu Williams in the 21st, and Josh Blanchard making an appearance. Tuesday night fellow Bolero bowler makes an appearance in the top 22. So on your point, and to respond to you, you are right. I mean, experience matters on the PBA tour, right?
More than ever, though?
Yes, I believe that.
Why?
I think because of, okay, now I could be completely off here, okay? But I feel like in today's day, in today's bowling, the lanes change and are transitioning more than they ever have been because of the high rev rates, okay? And like I said, this is just me shooting from the hip, so I could be wrong here. But look at the top 12 bowlers just here, right? Like Belmonte, Simo, Lavery Spar, Doherty, Tommy Jones, Ogle, right? Barrett, right? The straightest people out of the top 12 here is Chris Barnes. And I've never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be saying this, but Bill O'Neill are the 2 straightest players on the top 12. And Nathan Bohr, and if you want to consider top 14, right? With all the high rev rates in this day and age and all the urethanes going down the lane, the lanes are transitioning more than ever. And I feel like the experience of being able to adjust on the fly, switch balls, make moves is coming more into play than it ever has been. And you really need to make the right moves and the right decisions during a tournament. And obviously experience matters on that.
And it's funny because part of what you're saying to me, and I want to come back to this, but part of what you're saying to me is that, and if I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, let me know. But I would summarize it as saying it's harder to learn how to adapt to bowling in the professional environment than it's ever been.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's come back to that in a second.
Is urethane
Here,
part of that?
well, I mean, yeah. Well, the patterns are part of that. The patterns are part of that, right? The fact that, you're traveling to similar centers a lot of times, the same places, I think, is part of that. So you got to figure out what you got to do in that particular place to strike, right? But let me come back to my point about the younger generation struggling to break through, right? EJ Tackett is not a part of that. Okay, he's a younger player, 30, right? And he has clearly broken through. Simo is not a part of that. He's 25. He has broken through, right? But outside of those two guys, uh, even some of the people that have won titles, right, and have proven themselves as winners, have not really produced that consistency after that initial success, right? And that's really what I'm taking note of. That's really what I'm seeing, and how the old guard is really holding guard. Troop, Dave Pekow in the chat. Troop is a good example. Okay, now I don't. See the reason I didn't think of him, Dave, is because I don't view him as a younger player, right? His path to where he's at is a little bit different. But you are right if we're talking about in terms of breaking through on the scene and then sustaining that success, right? Now he's sustained it for a short time. We got to see where it goes. Over the next few years. Buttriff, I don't know. Would you put him in that category, Rob?
I wouldn't put him in the younger player category.
Okay, all right. But would you put him in the always a threat category?
Buttriff?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, okay. Prather. Again, I wouldn't put him in the younger category.
Prather's teetering.
He's been out there. He's been out there for numerous years. I'm kind of talking, guys that haven't been out there for numerous years is sort of what I was getting at when I was looking at these. Francois, same thing. I feel like he's been out there for a while. Even AJ Chapman, I feel like, has been out there for a while.
So you're talking about guys who just got out there in the last 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, 2, 3, 4 years. 2, 3, 4 years, and
you don't see a lot of new faces, right? Is that what you're saying? That are really coming on the scene and
you see new faces, but they're a flash and then they're gone. Right. They're a flash and then they're gone, and you don't see new faces who you see them and then you see them again and then you see them again and then you see them again, and it's like, oh, this guy's now one of the regular threats out here.
We gotta think eventually there's going to be a changing of the guard, right? Eventually it's going to happen. And I know Malcolm, I think it's Malcolm and Tilly. He writes in the comment Nair and McCune might get there. I think you're going to see a changing of the guard in the next 5 years, where you're going to stop seeing, I hate to say it, but you're going to stop seeing guys like Bill and Doherty, and you're going to start seeing more of guys of Nair and McHugh.
But are you though? Because Barnes is 50 and he's still out here.
Yeah, but he's not consistent threat though.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, okay.
I think Bill and Belmonte and Barrett and the guys EJ, Simo. Those are the guys. Simo, Troop. These are the guys you're going to be seeing for the next 10 years. EJ, Simo, Troop. You're going to see those three guys a lot. You're going to start seeing guys like Robarge and Nair and McCune, I think, are going to start making their way there. It's going to be interesting to see some of the names that might pop in that you might not expect.
Well, listen, they got to sustain themselves between now and then.
So let me ask you, AJ Johnson's also a good one. I think once he figures out how to win and break through, he's going to start having a lot of success. I do believe that. I have a lot of faith and confidence in AJ Johnson. His talent is just amazing. He's got an amazing talent. AJ Chapman too, I think, has got some work to do, but I think he's someone that if he starts getting confidence in how to win and make shows, you might start see him become a common, threat on the tour. Marshall Kent to me is somebody that has a talent. He's in and out. I don't know. I love Marshall Kent's talent, but I don't consider him obviously somebody who's on a Troop kind of Simo level, who can get there too with more wins and more confidence. I think he's another one too that we might start seeing. It's all about the confidence in the winning, Mike. It's really, that's what it comes down to with a lot of these guys. They have to really feel like they belong there. And they have EJ and Simo. Simo's a great example of that. Simo had that confidence in his ability years ago as a 21, 22-year-old kid. He knew he was he belonged there, and he bowled that way. And that's the reason why he was able to sustain all that success, and he's going to have such an amazing career. It might go down as the greatest bowler of all time when it's all said and done, honestly, with that kid's age and how much he's been winning. But I want to talk about more of the urethane, because you know how much I hate urethane, at least on the PBA tour. And
yeah, that'll be the next topic we cover quickly. But go ahead. What do you think urethane has to do with this issue that I brought up?
Do you think that urethane is taking away the ability for these pros to be versatile? That it's giving them a essential handcuff or cheat code? When you got guys like Bill who didn't, you know, we grew up with urethane in a way, right? When we were like younger, when we were below 10 or 11, 12 years old, but we learned how to bowl competitively on high level on these short patterns, these long patterns with performance. And in order to bowl on a cheetah before these urethane balls were made, you had to learn how to change your hand position, adjust your speed, right? You had to physically learn how to bowl on the shot. Are the kids nowadays getting that versatility when all they would have to do now is just switch to a urethane ball, and they don't even have to like change a hand position, change a ball speed? So is it stunting the growth of some of these pros? If urethane is out of play, if you can't use urethane, how many of the guys that use urethane consistently are making it? I'm asking that question.
I'm not sure I see it that way so much as I see it that some of these younger guys have probably relied on it so much, especially in the development of their professional career, that perhaps they don't have many tricks. Like, I think we're getting at the same thing,
yes.
right? But
that's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
like a clutch. Okay. Like someone like Bill O'Neill. Like,
no,
okay,
see, but that's it. That's where I disagree. It's not so much as a crutch. It's just this has been such a usable tool at such a key point in their career that they just constantly rely on it, and at this level it's not as effective as it was for them at other levels. And I mean, so yes, I think it's a contributing factor. I'll say that.
So I'm going to use two-handed play right here. Okay, I'm going to talk a two-handed lefty of Jesper, and I'm going to compare him to someone like Belmo. Okay, Belmo didn't learn using urethane in his prime. Belmo learned in my age group how to play the patterns with high performance, and then learned how to use urethane. Okay. I think if you compare someone to like Jesper, who learned on urethane, now if he's, how many tricks does Jesper have compared to someone like Belmo has? Belmo learned on performance, on having to change his hand position and change his style. How much better of an overall player is a Belmo because of the fact where, as a two-hander, he had to learn how to throw performance on short patterns in order to be successful. And then once the urethane became in play, he then had to learn how to use a pitch black. So now he's got all the tools in his arsenal. He's got all the tricks of the trade, right? But if you got somebody who essentially only has learned how to throw and be successful throwing urethane,
well, that's a one-trick pony.
One-trick pony.
It's a one-trick. I mean,
and that's what I'm saying.
I'm not, I don't want to be crazy. I don't want to be crazy in what I'm saying here, but I do. I view it that way. I think that is a factor in it. But listen, it's just an interesting wrinkle to the conversation that I wanted to bring up. And I noticed the same thing you did about the standings this week. That it is kind of all old guard type standings. And again, it seems like these younger guys are just really struggling to cement their place among every week threat, every week match play, every week in the running, etc. So we'll see how things turn out. I mean, obviously there's a lot of bowling left, But it honestly, it's almost like if I see a couple older, grizzled veteran guys in the spots outside the show, and there's a couple younger, less experienced guys inside the spots in the show, I'm almost not surprised when the match plays over that it's the other way around. But I would be surprised if some of these guys who are up top, don't sustain what they're doing and solidify their place in the show. And kind of go and run and hide a little bit. Would surprise me. So
who do you like this week? Who do you like? Because right now,
well, I mean, listen, we talk about betting on bowling all the time. Let's update the people. I'm out here trying to get this done for us. I put it out on Twitter. I've been talking to Bet Rivers Sportsbook. They're a sportsbook that offers bowling. Look them up. Download the app. You might be in a state where they offer it. In New Jersey, I can get Bet Rivers, but they don't offer betting on professional bowling in New Jersey for some odd state law. I don't. They didn't explain what it meant. But Rob has access to it. And just as this morning, if Rob would have had it together, and it's not Rob's fault, I'm being sarcastic here to a degree. If Bet Rivers would have had Rob approved by this morning, Rob, I had texted you early this morning and said, give me 20 on Bill to win and give me 20 on Prather to win. Okay. And what happens today? They're both going off. So that's who I like. I mean, I like Bill. I like Prather.
Santu, and I said that earlier. I like Santu in the morning.
Yeah, that's a good bet too.
I feel like he's going to break out, and it's just a matter of time until he wins. I did like Dom though after last week. Dom, if you follow Dom's career, Dom is a very a momentum type bowler.
Yeah.
When he wins or he finishes high in a tournament, he really has a lot of success the next week. I would love to know if we had a statistician working for us. What are the stats on Dom making a show or winning? How he performs in the next tournament? Because I feel like Dom, every time you see Dom get hot, he gets really hot, and he always starts making a string of shows. So Dom would have been my other one. Buttriff kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't have had Buttriff, but the final 12 and final 4, I believe, is going to be a strong show tomorrow. And anyway, what time is the show tomorrow? Is the finals are on tomorrow?
I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, it's the worst time for me. I wish they had the finals on the weekend. Friday sucks, man. I work. I don't get home until and then it's just a bad situation for me. I wish this Saturday they were around the finals. But anyway, all right, Mike.
Let's talk more urethane a little bit. Let's keep the conversation. We haven't talked enough urethane this year in 2023. Let's talk more urethane.
To stir my shit up, are you?
Brad and Kyle video.
Oh.
Brad mentioned erroneously that his ball tested soft. It turns out it didn't test soft, or at least that's what we're being told anyway. Some confusion out there, some confusion about what actually was going on, etc.
I want to go into this because it seems a little bit off to me, because Brad originally puts out a video saying that his ball was randomly tested for whatever the PBA is doing in Neil Stremmel for stat diving. So obviously there is some kind of stat research going on with the urethane balls. There's still a lot of uncertainty. There's still a lot of learning that the PBA is doing, right?
Yeah, but we already knew that they get soft with use.
So anyway,
but how soft, how quickly? I mean, this was within 10 games. It was a brand new ball. They were supposed to address this already with the new rules and this and that, right? We're still having issues.
Because this is important. He comes on and says it's 68. Neil Stremmel tested at 68. Then he corrects himself and says, well,
Evil Empire.
I made a mistake.
Evil Empire.
Brad comes back after he puts the video out and says, oh, I made a mistake. And he even responded to me on Twitter, oh, I made a mistake. It was 70. Okay?
Well, it was something about the average. It's supposed to be the average. And I think one of the readings was below, but the average was 70. If I understand correctly.
Urethane is obviously, and Nico hits it on the head here. Balls are getting softer as you bowl with them, and it could be the oil. It could be the cover. Nobody really knows yet. Nobody completely and fully understands what is happening to these urethane balls as they bowl. Okay. Now, here's my post that I put on Twitter, which I got completely lit up for. I had a lot of people like it. I had a lot of people disagreeing. Until the USBC and the PBA can get this shit under control, they need to ban urethane on the PBA national tour and maybe the regional tour until they completely understand what the hell is going on with these urethane balls. Mike, even if you test them before the squad starts and test them after the squad ends, and if your ball is getting soft as you bowl, there is a chance that you are bowling with an illegal ball game 6, 7, and 8, if that's the case. Okay. And if you're a lefty, most likely you're going to be using a urethane all 8 games. Now, as a righty, we all know they probably switch out of it after games 3 or 4. But there's a good chance that lefties, the two-handers, especially who love the urethane, are using these all 8 games. If they're getting soft as they bowl, then yes, there's a chance that you could be using a legal ball the last 4 games of the block, last 3 games. And I'm talking illegal as in under the 70 rule. And until they understand what's happening and why it's happening, the PBA needs to get rid of it in general until they could get it. And once they get it under control and they understand what's going on, then they could start bringing it back in if they really want to. So that's just my opinion, Mike.
I think that's a shit take.
I love it. Why?
Because we don't even know what a point or 2 in softness actually means. Okay. So you want to throw everything out the window
based on the rule
when we don't even know what the actual impact of
what does it matter?
The problem is or the issue is.
If the rule is set at 70 and the ball tests at 69, the 69 to 70 difference on what the ball does could be completely non-existent and minute. But there's a rule that says 70, and that's the rule. You can't
Yeah, but maybe that rule needs to be adjusted. Maybe that rule needs to be adjusted. Maybe more research needs to be done about what the difference actually means.
I know,
and when the difference becomes impactful in some way. I
know the Hicklin did a video on the softness of the ball and how it
I know, but that was I saw it. I watched it. I mean, I felt like it was based more on eye test evidence of how much the ball hooked. Which to me, I don't think is the best way to measure it. So I think more research needs to be done. Jared, I think that calling for a
change the rule or ban them.
I think calling for a complete ban is utterly ridiculous. I think that it negates. I hear you. But even there, I think it's even dumber to do it at that level than it is to do it at some of the lower levels where having a ball might aid the player even more. Whereas at the national tour level, these guys are so good, I'm not even convinced it makes a difference. Are you going to sit here and tell me that if urethane wasn't allowed over the last 10 years on the PBA tour, that the record books would have to be rewritten from where they are now? Do you believe that?
I believe that there'd be a lot of bowlers that have titles.
That's not what I asked. I asked, would the record books have to be rewritten? No, they wouldn't. I mean, generally, it would probably look the same that it does now, generally speaking. You're right. Would there probably be a few guys who have a title that would not have a title? Might there be 1 or 2 guys who have multiple titles, and could possibly build a Hall of Fame career off of strictly urethane wins? Yes. Okay. And if that's how it turns out, then perhaps I'll be more willing to hear you out on that. But it would not rewrite the history books, my man, and you know that. So, say, oh, throw it out, to me is just a shit take. Like they at that level, whether they're bowling with marbles or they're bowling with the world's best bowling balls, the cream's going to rise to the top, and that's what I believe.
I think there's a lot of cream that we think are cream, but if you get rid of the urethane, are not going to be cream anymore. And I think a lot of bowlers, and I'm not going to name names because this is a completely fire take, but
you don't have to name names. Everybody knows who the names are.
There's a lot of bowlers that if you took the urethane out of their hands,
their career would be over.
Their careers will be over.
Well, that's the other thing about banning it. Is that fair? Is that fair to those players? You ban urethane, you're ending their career. I mean, Buttriff is one guy who's building a Hall of Fame career off of urethane. Svensson is another. So what? You're gonna put a fork in two Hall of Fame careers, to ban urethane?
No, because I personally know Butters and I bowled against him, and I think he's good enough where he can learn, or he has learned, to bowl with reactive. Okay. Now, all I'm saying is if they're really cream, then they will find a way to win tournaments without urethane. But and the reason why I'm saying to ban urethane, it's not to handcuff bowlers. It's not to, take a tool out of their bag. It's because of the hardness rule. If the USBC and the PBA say the hardness has to be 70, and these balls start at 70 and they finish below 70 during qualifying or match play, that is an issue.
Vic, I believe Vic is king of TV bowling on YouTube. He is a pretty cool site if you want to check it out. He throws a lot of old bowling balls, a lot of old gem bowling balls. But Vic, you seem mad committed to just rolling everything back to the Stone Age. I don't know, Vic. I got to tell you, I think that's a shit take, like Rob's take. Just because technology advances, my man. It's that way in any sport. Tennis rackets, golf clubs, baseball bats, they're all better than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago.
People are missing my point right now. And the fact, and you're missing my point here, is I'm saying once the USBC and the PBA get it under control where they understand urethane, then they bring it back. You get it? I'm not saying to ban it completely, permanently, and you just, wipe away with it. You bring it back when you understand that the balls aren't testing under 70, 3 or 4 games into a block. And I think that's the biggest concern here, is the fact that these balls are getting softer as they're being used, and a ball that has 9 games on it contest a 70 and pass legal USBC inspection, which, that's a whole nother topic of conversation. But then contest, even close or even on the borderline of a 79 games into being used. There's just too much uncertainty right now for my take for the PBA to allow it until they could get the research and they get the testing under control and the consistency of it.
All right. No, I mean that's fair. That's fair. I don't agree with you, but okay, fair enough.
And plus, it's boring, and I hate watching it. So, could I just say that real quick? Urethane is boring. It's a snooze fest. I don't want to see 5 guys throwing 5 purple hammers up the first arrow and using that. I just don't want to see it. I want to see the newest and greatest high performance balls that the Patch Pirates are always raving about on social media. Okay, I feel better after saying that.
All right, Rob. Did we run through everything? Are we ready to give the people what they want?
I think we're good. So I'm going to pull up Dave Peacock's comment here. Not like it soaks up oil, just pushes it. It's interesting, and I really need to get Mike Calderon on the show, because Dave, I talked to Mike Calderon, used to be a ball rep. Now he's one of the owners of B3 Performance. And him and Wesley Lowe did a test in B3 where they were testing urethane and how it affects the lanes. And he said something very interesting to me. He said that when they were throwing a certain, urethane ball or two down a fresh pattern, and they did that nonstop for like half hour, that they actually burned up a spot unexpectedly than actually pushing the oil down the lane. And that really confused me because I was always under the impression growing up, in the 80s, that urethane pushes the oil down the lane. And it does to a certain point, right? But how does a ball that's so soft that are not absorb oil, even if it is urethane? I don't know the chemistry behind it, but it doesn't surprise me that Calderon did say something, the fact that it's actually not only pushing oil down, but it's actually soaking up oil too. So interesting point. I'd like to maybe talk to Calderon about that. Maybe we bring him on one day. Anyway, enough serious talk, Mike. We have some more stuff of the week to get to. And I'm going to start here because I have a very interesting flyer for a tournament that I think you should bowl, Mike. Let me pull it up here and see if I could find it.
Sport event?
It's definitely not going to be a sport event. It is definitely going to be an event that might be a good time depending on who's going to be there. So worst of the week goes to the Pittsburgh area naturists. And I'm going to read it because it's kind of small and I can't zoom in on this thing. Naked bowling in Pittsburgh is back, Mike. Balls out naked bowling. Sunday, April 23rd from 4 to 7 p.m. at Crafton Ingram Lanes in Pittsburgh. There is going to be balls out naked bowling, Mike. Now, I have a comment about naked bowling, Mike. If naked bowling is anything like what the crowd usually looks like in a bowling alley,
don't scan the QR code. Jimmy's warning everybody in the chat. Don't scan the QR code on that flyer.
If naked bowling, if that's any in the if me going into a normal bowling alley on a normal league night and the crowd is anything or looks like anything that will show up to naked bowling, there is no chance in hell that I want to be a part of a naked area bowling event. But if this was on a sport pattern and they were putting up $5,000 for first place, then I might have to, rock out, to try to win that $5,000 in that sport event. But I don't know what it would take for you to bowl naked, Mike, but sports shot, $5,000 on top.
I don't think I could bowl naked. I really don't think I could. I don't know. Be too much shit swinging around.
Dude, first off, I would get for sure, I might get oil, from the lane on my shit. You know what I mean? So
fair point.
There might be some definitely I can't even hand conditioner, rosin, I don't even know how to even go ahead and talk about this event. But
all right, before I give my actual worst of the week, I have to give a warning to the bowling community in general. And the warning is this: if you don't stop with the sponsored ads, you're going to leave me no choice but to make you worst of the week. All right?
Mike, wait, let me ask you a question, though, real quick before you get in there. You think Daria would bowl me in the naked tournament in a doubles?
Naked doubles? I don't know.
I mean, hey, that shit, I might be more in tune to bowl that. Anyway, okay, sorry, go ahead.
My worst of the week this week comes from the Hammer Bowling Facebook page. Okay, Hammer Bowling Facebook page. It's a post by Brandon Jacobson. Brandon, congratulations, you've won worst of the week. The post is a picture of a Kegel pattern. It is the Kegel pattern for the 2006 WTBA World Men's Championship. Long pattern. 2.75 to 1 ratio. Okay, so definitely looks like something challenging. Okay. Here's Brandon's post above the pattern. Okay. He says, having difficulties getting ball to hook through so much oil. Anything pearl just won't grip. Had to resurface the Black Widow Savage with 800 grit just to work. Don't worry, I have another Savage that I haven't resurfaced. Speed is about 16 to 17 miles per hour. Any recommendations? Ball recommendations? I want to try the Black Widow Ghost, but it's another pearl, and afraid I'll be resurfacing it as well. Why? I'm confused. Why so much resurfacing?
Why is he buying pearl balls?
What does he mean by resurfacing? Does he just mean putting surface on the ball?
Maybe.
Is that what he means?
Maybe Abralon pads?
Like resurfacing to me means you're bringing the surface down, bringing it back up, right? Kind of getting the imperfections out of the surface. Also, why so many pearl balls? Somebody should just tell him, just stop throwing the pearl ball. I don't know.
You know what it shows you sometimes when you read a lot of these posts? That there's so many bowlers out there.
The lack of knowledge.
And
why do you think I highlight them? I mean,
but you know where that comes from?
It's a joke. Like literally, it's a joke.
Well, you know what it comes from?
The lack of knowledge.
It really, and this is a bigger problem.
It comes from so many people that had knowledge leaving the game.
Well, it also comes from the fact that the pro shops in the areas don't know what they're doing.
Well, even if they do know what they're doing,
they're giving their information or knowledge to bowlers that come in to buy bowling balls. And
even if they do know what they're doing, they're actually in many instances like only discussing or promoting or basing things off of the easy fraudulent side of the game, right? So like bowling becomes more about the bowling balls and the right resurfacing. And, then it is about making a good shot or having good fundamentals or throwing.
You know what I noticed happens a lot in the pro shops, and I could get into this for another hour, honestly. I noticed that a lot of the most knowledgeable pro shop owners spend the majority of their time in the back drilling the bowling balls, when in fact that they should be in the front of the store helping and educating and selling the bowling balls. I noticed that a lot of the really people who know what they're doing, maybe a one-man shows, and they're spending most of their time in the back drilling, or they might have someone helping them talk to customers that maybe don't really know a whole lot about bowling. I've seen that a lot, where just, you hire someone to just sell the balls, but in reality, the person who actually can give you the right knowledge is wasting their time. Or in a lot of cases, the people who are really knowledgeable, they don't want to deal with people.
Yeah, well, there are. I mean, again, a lot of people have left the game, Rob. Like, how many of those people are there that are actually around? Dude, I think you're way more likely to encounter somebody that doesn't have that experience than somebody who does.
I mean, look, Michael, you're right. I worked in a pro shop for a while, 2 years. The customer doesn't want to get educated either. You know how many times a customer used to come into the pro shop and ask my opinion on something, and then when I would give them my opinion, they would fight with me.
Because the customer thinks they already know.
100%.
Because the customer went to some dope's YouTube page who knows nothing and got their information from them, or they got their information from Johnny, who averages 225 down here. He told me he knows he could be a pro bowler. He just doesn't do it because the money's not that great.
DJ Marshall, love to see new names in the chat. Most pro shop guys are just giving the customers what they want to make them happy and take the money. Do you know how many times I've seen a pro shop where there's been a bowling alley filled with people, beginners, intermediate, all kinds of people, and this dope is in the pro shop watching Netflix videos, waiting for someone to come in. You get a good pro shop operator who wants to sell bowling balls. You know what they do? They go on the lanes. They might even get on the lanes and bowl a little bit, talk to people, talk to customers, build a good customer base, get people into the pro shop. there's so much wrong right now with the pro shop operators and how they, one, deal with people, lack of education, lack of knowledge. It's a whole nother episode we can do on the show, Mike, but we're running out of time. Me and you could talk bowling for hours. I want to watch Bills. Are they still bowling right now? We can get an update here on the stats.
Yeah, he's still in second. AJ Chapman shot 300. Looks like there's 1 or 2 games left.
Santu's in third, climbing a little bit. So, all right, cool. I'll pop it on.
Wait, hold on. It looks like they're done. It looks like the top 12 is set. Yeah.
And then what do they bowl tomorrow? How many games is it? 12 games?
12 match play, yeah.
Cool.
Anthony Lavery, Spar, Prather, Darren Tang, Belmo, Tommy Jones, Doherty, Buttriff, Barnes, Simonson, Santu, Bill, Dom.
Lavery, Spar, man. Anthony, they've been bowling good, the brothers. Both of them. Shouts, man. I see you guys. I see Huss.
Yeah, but again, back to my point earlier, like, they've been out there a while too. And, like, is it really that big of a deal for them to make a match play? No, at this point, they should be winning. They should be making regular shows, Where's the new blood? I don't know.
I think a lot of people in our
These older guys are good.
A lot of our fans and a lot of people in our chat have a lot of experience with, like, being in pro shops, involved in pro shops, spending their times in pro shops. Brian Leclerc, a former tour guy, learned so much from his knowledge. I've seen other customers come in and don't want to learn. I believe Brian Leclerc was actually the guy who yelled out that Bill was done after the second Open or his first Open at the U.S. Open. That then I talk shit the rest of the time in the bar. I believe it was Brian Leclerc. Yeah, he's very knowledgeable, very smart, very good bowler in the West Coast there.
East Coast, New York guy.
He was talking shit though against Bill. It doesn't matter who you are, Mike. You talk shit against the homie, and you're gonna get the heat. You're gonna get the fire. So anyway, a lot of people have that experience with bad experiences with pro shop operators and, even bad customers, but anyway. All right, Mike, another good episode here talking bowling.
Well, you got to wrap up worst of the week. Put the graphic up.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
All right, final thoughts here. Like, one final thought,
yeah.
And we probably should have addressed this earlier in the show, but we were coming in hot here. Thoughts and prayers with Delaware State University, right?
Yeah.
And their team was involved in some sort of bus accident. I read an article that there seemed to be at least a few serious injuries involved in it. I mean, that's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. That's not something you ever want to see happen or even really think about. So. Definitely thoughts to them. Hope everything turns out positively.
Yeah.
In that situation.
It hits close to home because we used to travel all the time in our van with our bowling balls. And like we've almost been in numerous accidents, and it's super scary. Wishing speedy recovery and everybody has full recovery and everybody can be back on the lanes. But yeah, what a scary situation. So thoughts and prayers and well wishes out to Delaware State.
Robert Hamilton wants to know our take on our boy getting a PBA junior pattern named after him.
I heard it's a house shot.
First of all, I think it's fitting that it's a junior pattern because Bill was probably like one of the most dominant junior bowlers ever in the height. In one of the eras that was at the height of competitive junior bowling, right? So like JBT's at its height, junior gold starting, youth masters is coming into its own. All of these various big youth events are popping up. Score More was a big thing then. And man, Bill was in the thick of it all. So very fitting that our boy gets a PBA junior pattern. I mean, great. It's awesome. He's one of the more likable, promotable, friendly, kid-friendly, if you will, guys on tour, I would say. Suck my sack. I don't think you're going to name a junior pattern after PDW. Suck my sack. I don't know. Probably. Bill O'Neill, Danielle McEwen. Who was the other person they named? They named it after E.J. Tackett, right? Okay, all right.
I think that's cool though, in a way, like to name the patterns after the pros.
Is it a house shot though?
No,
if it is, I'm going to start putting that out. I'm going to say, I bowled on the Bill O'Neill pattern. I shot 820.
You might actually win a match.
I'm ready for tour.
If it's on a house pattern, you might actually win a match.
I know. I might actually beat a house bowler.
Yeah, that's cool. But anyway, all right, Mike. Well, hey, we got to talk. We got like maybe 1 or 2 raffle tickets left we got to sell.
Yep, it's going down soon. If you want them, hit us up, sweeptherack@gmail. We'll be back on Sunday, right? We'll be back Sunday night to wrap up the tournament from this week. So we'll have that. Yep. And
follow us on social media.
Follow us on social media. We'll be tweeting during the finals and stuff tomorrow. So definitely follow us on social media. I'm at the 215. He's at Brooklyn Rob 11. Email us, sweeptherack@gmail. If you want rosin bags, if you want raffle tickets for the Belmo merch, email us. All right, we'll make it happen. We'll definitely get back to you. We've been getting a lot of great emails recently.
Yeah,
you guys make me laugh with the emails. I try and get back to people as quickly as I can, but hit us up on there. And we'll be back on Sunday. We'll have plenty more to talk about. Perhaps there's small chance of a new PBA titleist, but there will be an additional PBA titleist after tomorrow. So we will be wrapping up that tournament. Sunday, 7:00, same time, Todd. Todd in the chat asking what time. Sunday, 7:00, we'll be back. For those of you listening to us, not live, we appreciate your support too. And Rob, always fun, homie. And we'll see everybody in a couple days on Sunday.
Right.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.